why wouldn't you go to these businesses and digitize them? And if you look at PE's background in PE businesses, they're not buying sexy companies. There's nothing you can do. You step up and you knock on the next door and you got the next portfolio company and you try and help them. But they've got no power to actually come in and do it. It's all influence. So it's like you talk to CEOs, the same conversation. And if the CEO says, nah, it's not a priority right now, well, you go to these conferences, you learn nothing, right? You learn nothing because it's normally a vendor that's doing the pitch to you and showing you the latest research that they've done.
Behind every value creation plan, there's a data problem nobody wants to talk about. Fragmented systems, metrics nobody trusts, and decisions made on gut feel dressed up as analysis. Welcome to the PE Data Guy. Each week, host Graham Crawford talks to the operating partners, advisors, and practitioners who are doing the work inside portfolio companies. If you care about what actually drives returns in the market, then you're in the right place. The PE Data Guy starts now. Lee McCabe might be the most dangerous person on LinkedIn for private equity, not because he makes things up, but because he says what every operating partner, LP, and portfolio company CEO is already thinking, but nobody's allowed to say out loud. He went from launching eBay in the UK, to running Asia Pacific and North America, to Expedia, to being the first global head of travel at Facebook, to leading Alibaba's entire North American business. Then Lee walked into private equity and saw an industry that was 20 years behind on digital, running portfolio companies on instinct instead of data, and still betting on the same old model that the math no longer supports. Today, Lee runs Claymore Partners, who advise PE firms on digital value creation, and he publishes the very popular newsletter, Not Very Private Equity, and has built a huge following of over 45,000, nearly 50, I think, at this point, on LinkedIn in under 6 months by simply refusing to be boring. His posts generate thousands of engagement because he says the things that people inside corporate structures can only send in DMs and text messages to each other. On top of that, Lee is the best person I've ever met from Middlesbrough. So welcome to the show, Lee. Great to have you on.
Thanks. I should just use that as my LinkedIn profile.
Best ever person from Middlesbrough.
Well, that one as well. I can't think of many. Brian Clough. Brian Clough, I think, is the best person ever from Middlesbrough.
There you go. Yeah, as a former Forest season ticket holder and continuing suffering fan of said football club, I can't really argue with that, I suppose.
People should never be boring. That's all.
Yeah, there you go. You're definitely in the top two. You're definitely top two. Thanks for coming on. That's an amazing path, an amazing journey that's taken you on. Is there anything you'd add? Like, what was it about this world of private equity that led you to set up Claymore Partners and think this is where I want to spend my time?
Yeah, look, I think it's a great industry. It's obviously a lucrative industry, but I just saw the opportunity for change in this industry. I think it's been doing things it's been doing for the past 20 years, and that's served it very well. And it's made a lot of money and it's created great businesses. There have been some bad cases, of course, but in the whole, I think it helps business, it creates great industries, and it creates jobs. But the opportunity I saw was digital value creation. And as you listed off my resume,
reeled it
minutes ago, I come from a digital background in this digital bubble. And I was just shocked that I didn't see PE doing more in terms of digital. They were still pulling the levers they pulled for the past 20 years, pricing and procurement and financial engineering. And a lot of the portcos I met were doing nothing in terms of digital. And it struck me as being crazy. And I saw as just being a ton of low-hanging fruit that why wouldn't you go to these businesses and digitize them? And if you look at PE's background in PE businesses, they're not buying sexy companies a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It happens sometimes, but if you look at most of the companies, they're big, old, boring businesses that spew out cash in agriculture and defense and manufacturing and distribution and home services. And a lot of these businesses haven't digitized, so they haven't got the automation. They're not finding the leads as efficiently and effectively as they should. They're sitting on bad tech stacks. They've got no data in the business. So just putting in foundational things and helping them build a business built on data is a massive uplift for 99% of these businesses. So that was the catalyst. It struck me as a crazy opportunity.
That's great. And, as well as all the truth telling you do, that's one of the things that drew me to your content as I read it. Because similarly, I come from the same world where everything is instrumented to the nth degree, right? If we can, in the world of, personal financial services and credit cards that I used to operate in, like if we can increase the number of people who get to the bottom of the form and press apply, then that's worth tens of millions of dollars, right? So no stone is left unturned in terms of collecting billions and billions of rows of data to do it. So similar to you, when I came out of that world, I was at first a bit shocked and surprised. The first few businesses I heard about, where they were at from a tech perspective, but increasingly, it seems to me it's the rule and not the exception, and certainly that seems to be your experience as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it should be a no-brainer that every CEO, having a business run on data makes your decisions much easier, because data will point to where the opportunities are, data will point to where the failures are, and you should be able to improve your business pretty easily, because it just becomes math. Simple things like looking at the customer journey and all the conversion points from, when I win a lead and when I first talk to them, through the several points to actually realize revenue from them, you can simply look at the conversion rates on every point. And just moving those conversion rates a little bit is a big deal in terms of revenue. So creating those machines for your business should be foundational for every business and will definitely help you be more successful.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Is there, you listed off a few different industries and different types of business there. Is there one type of business that you think currently or in the past couple of years has been particularly able to benefit from this, is like particularly far behind? You mentioned home services. I've seen a lot of Cody Sanchez's stuff of how she's gone and franchised. I don't know if you're familiar with Pinks and That One Painter and the work that she's done there, but basically she's taken a centralized national and created a brand, because her point was none of these businesses ever created a brand. So she just created a recognizable national brand and then franchised it out, and mandated digital marketing spend and monitoring. So that was home services. Have you seen that with home services too? Or are there other types of businesses that are particularly?
It's really not hard to do. I think the opportunity applies across the board, and I simplify it in three parents, right? So consumer D2C, largely e-commerce. You would expect those guys to be in good shape, because they wouldn't have it's impossible to build a big business without building a business built on data and e-commerce. So those guys are usually good. There's still opportunity there, but not massive. The other one is consumer services. So that's not restricted to home services, although home services is of course big. HVAC, roofing, flooring, windows, etc. It can also go to med spas, doctors, dentists, health clinics. And I think there's a ton of low-hanging fruit there, because the majority of these companies are being founder-led, and typically the founder is not a digital or data guy.
Yeah.
One, look, they've already done great. They've already done a phenomenal job to build a business and be bought by PE. But then the opportunity comes to digitize. And I think you can digitize these businesses very easy. Any multi-location consumer services business, you can digitize it easily by doing what I just said. You build the tech stack, you drop in the BI, you improve conversion and optimization, you improve the digital marketing. And a lot of the time, you're competing against mom and pops or much smaller businesses. You can smoke them straight away if you build this correctly. So big opportunity in consumer services. And then the other one is B2B. And perhaps there's a big opportunity in B2B. And here's why. B2B, again, you've got a lot of big old businesses that just spew out cash. Good businesses. Haven't digitized at all. Now, you can create a marketing and a lead generation machine in these businesses pretty easily, just like you can in consumer services. The thing in consumer services is the attribution is there.
Right.
It's not as clear as D2C, where you're seeing immediate attribution. You send somebody the shopping cart, they buy something, you can see exactly what I paid for that click, what I paid for that business, what my average order value was. You can get ROI and ROAS straight away. Consumer services, a little bit harder, but not much harder, because the sales cycle is probably a week. Between the time you get a customer, speak to them, you send someone to their house, you know whether you've sold that product or not. So the attribution is there. Attribution is way harder in B2B.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Because depending on the product, the sales cycle could be 6 to 12 months or longer. So you could build the best lead generation engine in the world. You can't inform it with attribution straight away. which is an issue. So you could be spending blindly on top of funnel and getting clicks and getting leads in. You've got no idea what's happening to those leads. So that's one of the issues. The other issue is the only way you can manage that is having a super good sales team. And I really haven't experienced many great sales teams in B2B, right? And you need a superstar sales leader who's going to put discipline in that team to manage the funnel and manage the pipeline and be managing that CRM every day. So marketing can understand the quality of those leads, what's happening to those leads, where they're sitting in the pipeline, the confidence level of converting those leads, what they think the transaction price is going to be, when they think it's going to happen. So you need an awesome sales team that have got to be data-centric, entering all that data. And historically, sales teams haven't been set up like that.
Or are not incentivized to put the right data in, right? Or have the wrong targets that make them, optimize for number of calls that they do, so that they end up talking to a lot of disqualified leads, or they get measured on close percentage of qualified leads, and that then leads them to disqualify leads who might have actually bought because they're trying to protect their metrics as well. Like that's just one of the many examples I've found of like where data within a business may not always be a good thing, because if it's not set up and the metrics aren't set correctly and the objectives aren't set and people don't put the right data in, then they can turn into a mess pretty fast.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the opportunity in B2B. If a CEO comes in and says, I'm going to digitize this business, and obviously he has the power to do that, and employs a superstar head of sales and just makes sure that sales is just as digitized as the marketing function, you can have a great business and see a massive impact on doing that.
I mean, we both operate in the B2B world as well. And the numbers I've heard about, it's 6 or 7 touch points before someone will call you or whatever else, like largely ring true. Like, how do you approach it with yourself within Claymore? Have you got the superstars?
Yeah, look, we've got a great BD team, but look, I've always, and I think I posted about this, it's better to attract than chase. And that's part of kind of my LinkedIn strategy, where I just post what I'm thinking about. And it seems to resonate with the industry. So I think content in B2B is a massive part of this. If you get in the cadence of posting great content that resonates with the industry, you shouldn't need to do a lot of chasing. It takes time, and you're right, it's probably 8 touch points. But I think the more people kind of see your message and see your point of view, and they start to learn kind of what you're about and what your company does and what you do, you should start to attract inbound that way. And that inbound, of course, is way more valuable than you trying to chase leads and hammer leads every day and go after people and try and find those intent signals and find people that might want to work with you and want your business. So I think it's content in B2B is paramount, putting that hard work in to begin with. And you won't see the impact and you won't see the benefit of that straight away, but you've just got to believe that this is a long-term thing. Great content compounds, and the more you put out there, and the more people that hear your proposition and hear your voice, they may not be in market the first time you see it, but when they're in market in 12 months and they've already seen 12 of your posts or content from elsewhere, hopefully you're top of mind when they need your service and they reach out to you.
Yeah. And that's how the personal injury lawyers do it, right? That's why they plaster their faces all over the billboards. Like they're not advertising. I mean, I'm sure they're advertising in hospitals too, but that's why they're everywhere on the billboards and the taxis, at the bus stops. Right? They're trying to be top of mind for when you do need them. There's a couple of things to chew on out of that. And one is the other one, I'm sure you're doing it, right, is to be data driven about it. You don't instantly know what content's going to resonate with the industry, but you can measure it, right? You can measure it and adjust and iterate your approach and adjust your content strategy. So that's another important thing that I've learned. And secondly, as well as inbound on potential clients, I've noticed that my content strategy gets me inbound on talent for my team as well. I started by asking you about your sales team, but I probably at the minute I'm getting more inbound of people, folks I know to be extremely talented, interested in working with me, in some capacity, more so than I am potential clients. So it's a win-win, I think, from a funnel in that perspective.
It's immensely flattering when you get that. I do get a lot of resumes, a lot of students wanting internships and places, and unfortunately, I can't place many of them, but you're right, it definitely has that effect as well.
So we have all this evidence that the old playbook is dead. There are people other than me and you who have come from a very data-driven technology industry and sort of giant technology companies who know and see this. So why are so many firms still running it, you think?
Because it's worked for the past 20 years and it's made an awful lot of money.
Yeah, they're looking backwards.
And the pain, the pain in private equity takes a long time for it to get really painful, right? Because you can sit on funds for years. You can push them into continuation funds. There's a quote that I like, and I can't remember who it's attributed to. It's like, how did you go bankrupt? And the answer was gradually, then suddenly.
Yes.
And I think P is going to see this now because there's going to be a lot of zombie funds emerge. I think there's a lot of firms that have raised their last fund and they don't realize it yet. So I think it's going to be a slow death by paper cuts, but people are starting to see it. And I think LPs are starting to ask more questions around, look, you can't just buy a company and sit in it for 4 years. 4 years would be great right now. Most of these companies now 7 or 8 years. They pay way too much in the current vintage and they can't exit. That's what's going to generate the zombie funds. So I think LPs are going to put more pressure on GPs to say, look, how are you? You need to create value. Give me some good ideas of how you're going to create value in these businesses, not just sit on them and cross your fingers that the CEO works out and exit in 4 to 5 years. So it's not as fast as you would hope to see, but I think that it's definitely there that these firms are waking up that, yeah, they have to create more value. They can't just sit on the sidelines.
And those things that you mentioned are symptoms, surely, as well. Like all the big company reports are talking about it, the extension of holding periods, how that's sort of creeping upwards slowly. And then, like you say, probably gradually and then suddenly. And then secondly, the other thing that I see in a lot of the industry reports and data is the amount of dry powder at the minute and people sort of being tentative unless the deal is a surefire win to actually invest in the first place. So those two things will surely come to a head at some point. I was going to say, to what extent do you think the lack of adoption of digital transformation or data-driven businesses is driving that?
Is driving what, the dry powder?
The longer holding periods in the amount of dry powder, yeah.
Well, I think it could have hastened them because most PE firms, again, will be hands-off. Well, that's part of the brand, right? When you want to buy companies, the best position you can put yourself in is to say, look, we are very CEO-friendly. We're going to be a sponsor of your business and we're going to come in and we're going to let you run it. We'll be supportive and we'll be as helpful as we can, but you're the man in charge. And they've realized that doesn't work out. 70% of portfolio company CEOs don't make the exit. So that means the system is broken somewhere. And so I think the PE firms that come in and should still have that stance to say, look, we're not going to be, it's not going to be a dictatorship. We're not going to come in and ruin your business and be all over it. But there are a few fundamental things that we will insist on. And there should be things like the tech stack. We want to fix your tech stack so you ingest data correctly and you understand data correctly and you have a business run on data. I mean, that should be a non-negotiable. And any reasonable CEO, unless they were defensive or they were worried about being exposed,
By hiding something, yeah.
will not push back on that. They should say, great, I would love a business run on data because it's going to make it easy for me. It's going to make it easy for you, like full transparency, build me a business built on data, and let's run this together. And once you put that foundation in place, everything becomes easier. Digital marketing just becomes math once that's in place. So I think that there are some PE firms that do that now and are very forthcoming with that and say, look, when we buy you, this is going to happen. It's not, we're not going to negotiate. We're going to fix your tech stack and build the data out and make this look like a proper business that you can then run. And that should be kind of table stakes. And like I said, I think there are a few PE firms do that. I think Toma do that and Vista do that, but it's pretty rare. And this current period has got to be a wake-up call to PE firms to say, yeah, there's a few things we should do day one in these businesses rather than wait around a few years and just hope that they happen.
Yeah. I mean, even thinking about, as a data person, thinking about the second order advantages of doing that, like, particularly if you've got a common tech stack and, you and I both know Lee, when you go into a business, people are often the first place they expect you to start is like, oh, here's my secret menu of off-menu tools that are actually the magic ingredients for an amazing business. When the truth is that, up until the advanced usage levels of some of these tools for in both data and marketing, they largely do the same thing as their competitors. And actually, what's important is getting the data in the first place. But from a firm perspective, if you have a regular stack that you use and you deploy that across 10, 15, 20 portfolio companies, then you have an ability to monitor your fund or monitor a portfolio of companies across the board in a way that you didn't have before.
Yeah, you can monitor. It just saves a ton of time. Right now, you've got your associates in the firm spending most of their time aggregating data and pulling data together. You're putting a ton of pressure on the portfolio company to produce weekly reports and monthly reports and pulling all that data together. If the foundation's right, you can automate all this. You shouldn't be chasing around different systems for data. It should be centralized. It should be all in one place. You should produce those weekly and monthly reports at the touch of a button. Really, it's all down to the CEO of the portfolio companies. If the CEO doesn't want it, it's not going to happen. If the CEO wants it, he should be saying to the PE firm, yes, come and help me get this done as quickly as possible because it's in all our best interest.
Yeah. You're preaching to the choir over here for sure. Like after we've done a data assessment inside a company, any initiative, any subsequent initiative that we do, like I will say this has to have top-down leadership support. And by top-down, I mean the CEO leadership support. Otherwise, the friction emerges and it doesn't suit the narrative and someone's trying to manage perception over here. And then it's very easy to, throw the spanner in and slow everything down. And then you end up getting nowhere. And that's not the sort of business I want to be doing.
No, if the CEO doesn't want it, don't waste your time. If the CEO doesn't get it, don't waste your time. If the CEO kind of gets it and says, well, look, I'm only doing this because the PE firm's pushing me to do it, don't waste your time. The CEO has to be the chief driver of all of this. And if it's not a priority or they don't get it or don't want it, it's a waste of time.
Yeah, no, that's the lesson I've learned the hard way for sure. Like across my years in business, it seems like a noble cause to step into the mantle and be, I am going to be the one, like, this leadership team doesn't think data is a strategic asset. I will convince them with all of my stories and my wisdom. And I've never got anywhere yet.
No, you won't.
Yeah, wonderful. You'd say the operating partner model is broken. This is about operating partners being empowered to actually make change when they go in. What are the issues going over there? That all stem from the same thing?
Yeah, what we just talked about, the culture of private equity. There's kind of two sides to it. One, it's getting harder to win the business because there are more PE firms out there, so you're always in an auction to win the business. And if it's a great business, there might be 10 firms bidding on it. So you have to have that position where, look, we're the good guys. We're going to be great partners with you. This is why you should sell to us. We're going to work great together. And we're all going to make a lot of money and we'll exit this in 4 years. So that's the culture most PE firms have. I mean, look, ideally, the best investment is you buy a company, you don't talk to the company for 4 years and you exit for 3x.
I mean, it seems very easy, doesn't it?
That's the best investment, right? But of course, that doesn't happen. So PE firms really, don't want to touch these companies a lot. If the company's going well, hands off. That being part of the culture, that means the operating partners have no power to do anything. So you've got a lot of frustrated operating partners who come in with the experience, who can look at a business and say, yeah, I can see the opportunity here straight away. I can see the gaps in this business. I could probably add X million to this business over the next 2 years if we do those three things. But they've got no power to actually come in and do it. It's all influence. So it's like you talk to CEOs, the same conversation. Even though the firm owns the portco, an operating partner still acts like a vendor. They will come in and speak to the CEO and say, look, I think this is a great idea and it's going to add a lot to your top line and bottom line. Should we do this? And if the CEO says, nah, not a priority right now, or maybe I'll get to it year 2, or I don't see the value in that, there's nothing you can do. You step away and you knock on the next door and you got the next portfolio company and you try and help them. So That's the challenge with operating partners right now. There's no power to actually go in and change things, even though there's a lot of low-hanging fruit and a lot of easy things they could change. So they act like consultants, and they're there to help when the companies need them. But the effectiveness, I think, is really subdued because of the culture and the model and PE firms.
Yeah, I mean, human beings are naturally change resistant, but the way you've described it there, it's a bit of a paradox, right? Because as you say, there's competition for good companies, and at the minute, the firms who are winning are the ones who are saying, "Oh, we won't interfere, we won't go in and change things." But actually, the route to value is the opposite approach of that. But until the acquisitions or the winning of the deal starts going to those companies who are saying are going to do it, then the cycle is going to continue. So, how do you think we break that?
I think the current conditions are going to break it. All the failure in the system, although slow, is going to happen. So I think people start witnessing the failures in the system, and they've got no choice. They have to change it at some point.
Yeah, well, I look forward to that day as well, because it's I don't know, maybe I take real pleasure in being the kind of, I'd say a wartime operator rather than a peacetime operator. I want to go in and identify the highest value changes to make, and then go through and make them, because we're doing it in the best interest of the business and everyone who works there, right? That's you talked about the perfect PE investment. That's the perfect kind of operating partner consultancy model, right? We can go in, we're empowered, we can make this change, we can transform things, and we can move away again.
It's much easier to be a peacetime operator, because if you're a peacetime operator, you're starting day one in a good business, and it has to be a good business, or the PE firm wouldn't have bought them. So
yeah,
starting in daytime is much easier than starting 3 years later when you've had to restructure the business and fire the CEO, and now you've got no choice. You have to get in. Now you're in wartime. Unfortunately, you haven't got the arsenal, because the cash flow is not there and the investment's not there. So you've got to fix things. Wartime is a lot harder. That's why peacetime means fixing this from day one and getting it right is the logical way for me.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, the grass is always greener, isn't it? But the thing that's harder for me in peacetime is there's always a reason to overthink decisions, to intellectualize things, to get involved in the transformation theater that I know we've both spoken about separately. Of like, well, let's do this really impressive looking slide deck, and then sort of inch our way forward with no real impetus and no real catalyst for change. That's the tricky bit for me about the peacetime.
Yeah, there's a trick. But look, it's always better to change the roof while the sun is shining, right? So yes, there might be a lot of noise in that, because the pressure is not there, and business is good. So they may not see the value in digitizing their business or building a business built on data. So, but I think that's down to the PE firm and the CEO to say business is good, but there are a few obvious things, foundational things we just haven't built in this business. And business may not be good forever, and I'll feel a lot more comfortable if the foundation is strong in this house.
Yeah, no doubt that that's the happier way. No doubt that's the happier way to do it as well. A different set of challenges for sure. Switching up a bit, like, let's talk about PE firms as media companies. I had someone on the podcast from Nike a couple of months back, and he said to me that the most common misconception about Nike is that they're a sportswear company. They're a media company who sells sportswear, who just so happens to sell sportswear. And I think you've demonstrated with the work that you've done just how important, like, creating and doing business around a narrative can be, and how powerful an effect that can be. Yet, you look for PE content across LinkedIn, across Substack, across wherever else, outside of folks like yourself, it's very quiet out there. There's a little bit of a desert. Is that something else that is also going to have to change in the future, where the industry might have to catch up with the rest of the world? Yeah,
look, and a few companies get it. I think Parker Gale do a great job. They have a podcast, the private equity frontcast. They do a good job of that, because they realize early on it's important. And I think, look, moving forward, I saw an article the other day about things AI is going to commoditize a lot of things. It won't commoditize brand. So the importance of building a strong brand for your business, AI won't commoditize that. And the importance of building a strong brand and personal profile for yourself has never been easier. On platforms like LinkedIn, if you're a consumer, everything else, TikTok, Insta, it's never been easier to create a strong brand for yourself. I think that's really important for individuals and businesses to have that moat, because things will get harder, There is no downside of building that moat for yourself. There'll never be a downside of having a big audience. You carry on building your audience, and that gives you optionality, and there are more and more things that you'll be able to do with that audience over time as you build a reputation with them. So yeah, I think the things that PE firms miss, if you look at their websites, it's the same. It's like Groundhog Day, and you look through every website because they think their websites in which they are a pitch book for LPs.
Yeah.
So they talk about their team and they talk about how successful they've been investing. If you're lucky, you might get a few case studies, portfolio companies, and they'll give you the history of the firm through the funds and how much each fund has returned. But the companies that get it say, look, our site should be a pitch book for founders. There should be a pitch book for future portfolio companies. We want to position ourselves as being great partners and great guys to work with. You don't get that many of the websites now, or very few. And like I said earlier, it's much better to attract than chase. So I think VC gets this, like Andreessen and 20 VC, who will say, look, we're half media firm, half venture capital business. And I think that's right. The more content you put out there is valuable. You're educating people, you're creating a brand for yourself. And I think the value of that over time is, when you're buying these businesses, I think about the typical business that private equity buys. I'd be interested to do a survey. If you ask the typical CEO which PE firm would like to buy you, they'll name the top 10 because that's all they've heard of. They'll say, Blackstone, KKR, Carlyle, Apollo, General Atlantic. That might be it. Because those are the big firms that they would have heard of.
Yeah, big brands.
Well, 99% of the time, it's not those firms that are going to buy them, right? It's going to be one of the other 17,000 firms across the US that they've never heard of. So the first time they hear about these companies, they're at an auction. Now, before companies bidding to buy the business. And you have to start to meet the partners and learn about the PE firm, and you go for dinners with them. And there's diligence on both sides. If you're a smart company, you should be diligencing that PE firm just as hard as they're diligencing you. But still, these are cold connections. So these are guys you've just met, and you don't really know them. Much better if that PE firm had been working on their brand for the past 5 years and putting out great content about success stories, interviews with their founders. We turned this HVAC company around. We were good to work with. We gave this founder a lot of money. His insights to our playbook. They should publish the playbooks. There's no secret sauce in private equity. Everyone's running the same playbooks. Well, be transparent. Share that. There's no secrets to rip off. Share the playbook. Share how you think about value creation. Share how you think about partnerships. Share the success stories. Comment on the current news. Comment how you think AI is going to impact private equity going forward. Start posting great content, and then founders will have heard about you. And it won't be a cold interaction every time. They'll say, okay, there were 4 guys bidding for me, and one of the PE firms, well, I've been reading their content for the past 3 years, and I feel like I already know them, and they seem like good guys. You've got much more chance of winning. The PE firms have much more chance of winning that deal than they had now, because they're an unknown entity in nearly every case.
Yeah, totally true. Something I've been thinking about, and I know you've been thinking about it too, because I read something you'd posted about it. Longer term, assuming that death by 1,000 cuts continues, could over time people like me and you become threats to these firms? Because I'm not talking about overthrowing Blackstone or whatever, to be clear, but part of the marketing I do, I try and be value-led. I try and deliver good content. I try and put playbooks out there that people can use, right? Sure, my team can come and implement this for you, but this is how you should run your data shop. This is how you should run your reporting. This is how you should set your KPIs. What has happened more and more to me is that rather than as well as PE firms, companies who one day might be potential acquisition targets for PE firms come and say, oh, I see you do great value creation. How about we do it together now before the PE firms are in the picture? And then that then opens up an opportunity for you to maybe take some equity, maybe invest in there, maybe stake a little bit in the future of this company and kind of nibble a little bit away at the bottom of the market. Is that a channel that you're looking towards?
It's not a threat to PE firms. I mean, one, it's probably good learnings for PE firms to copy that. There's also kind of a not a new level of PE, but one that's definitely growing faster, which is the search funders. There are a lot of guys stepping away from PE firms and raising their own funds, or finding a business first, then getting the investment to fund that business and running this. I think that part of the market is growing pretty quickly. And typically those are guys that have worked in PE, so they know the business, but they've been disappointed with their firm and thought they could do better and step away. And they start buying one business. And if they're successful with that, they might buy another one. If they're successful with that, they might raise a small fund. So I think it's the next generation of guys like that where we'll see PE firms start to emerge, and PE firms that look very different, that will be half media firm, half PE firm, and will be way more forward thinking about how they build a brand and how they build their personal brand.
Yeah, no, I like the idea of it. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. A lot of people will always, as you say, go towards the trust and go towards what the value is as well. So we'll keep putting it out there and see what happens. Channel wise for you, you're very successful on LinkedIn as well as Substack. Like, do you have other channels that you push as well? Like, do you have a multi-channel strategy? Are you more deliberately focused on those? Like, what's your approach?
No, LinkedIn and the not very private equity newsletter, and building out that media business. Because I think that's also interesting, another opportunity. If you look at private equity media, it's also terrible.
It's very boring, isn't it?
Very boring. It's I mean, you look at the content on the private equity media sites, no one has a voice. It's just you're getting the same droll news stories you're getting everywhere. If you go to private equity conferences, you're not getting great content there because the model is broken. You know, they sell their keynotes in those conferences. So when you sell a keynote, the keynote ends up being a quasi sales pitch. So
not even quasi. Those are expensive. They're like tens of thousands of dollars, those things.
Well, you go to those conferences, you learn nothing, right? You learn nothing because it's normally a vendor that's doing the pitch to you and showing you the latest research that they've done. Or you're listening to panels of private equity guys who can't say anything, right? They're looked down by the GC.
Yeah.
They can't be disruptive. They can't be provocative. They're going to give you the story that everything's great and the PE firm wants you to lead with.
Yeah.
They're going to obviously talk about AI and, oh, yeah, we're all over AI and we're testing things and, yeah, well, hopefully AI is going to be great and we're just discovering right now. You learn nothing at these conferences. So yeah. I think the opportunity there is to build something very different that is disruptive, to say, okay, we're not going to sell the content to vendors. We're going to create the content in a way better way that you would actually pay to attend the conference, because the content's going to be great and you're going to learn something from that content. And that may be, not having a PE guy talk about Google, putting Google on stage and hearing from Google how they're thinking about PE, how they're thinking about the future of AI, how they're thinking about Gemini, etc. Not by putting a PE guy on stage and giving you the sales pitch of how well their portfolio company is doing, getting a CEO who just exited from PE with a very successful exit, put them on stage and get them to present, well, actually, how was it? How was it working with PE? What did you like? What didn't you like? How did you grow your HVAC business from 10 markets to 50 markets in 4 years? Tell us exactly what did you do? How can we learn from this? I mean, I don't think it's hard putting great content together, but the current model in PE media will not allow that to happen, because they're stuck on the drug of monetizing keynotes and monetizing the content. And while you're stuck on that, it won't be good content.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And, I looked at a couple this year. I looked at, I think, a PEI one in New York. And that was a PEI Operating Partners Forum, I think it was called. And they wanted 65,000 US to go if you're not a PE person. It's like, are you kidding me? So, yeah, very much seen the model. And totally see the need for something new, something exciting, something disruptive. So I'll get two more questions on that. What are we going to call it and when are we putting it on, Lee?
It's live now. It's called notveryprivateequity.com.
So that's the newsletter. Are you going to have a conference?
Yeah, that's the brand. So yeah, we'll start with dinners, private equity dinners, and you grow it from there. Dinners become cocktails. There'll be events at some point, but the brand is not very private equity.
Right. Let me know how I can help. You need some East Coast foundation? I got you.
Okay.
I love it. Well, I look forward to it, and I look forward to the a chance to come to one of them, and whenever the first not very private equity conference kicks in, you bet your bottom dollar I'll be there.
Cool.
So I know we pushed the Substack and LinkedIn a couple of times, but for the folks listening, if someone wants to find you, and they don't already trip over you on LinkedIn, like where's the first place you'd send them?
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn. You'll get all my details there.
Yeah, it's easy to spot. I'll vouch for it. I'll vouch for it.
Take a look at the website, notveryprivateequity.com.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for the time coming on, Lee. Like it.
If I'm plugging, and my company, Claymore Partners, take a look at claymorepartners.com as well.
Yeah, very good. Great website. Love it. Well, thanks. I appreciate you taking the time to come on, Lee. Not the bad boy of private equity, the truth teller of private equity, and look forward to continuing to keep up with your stuff on LinkedIn and play whatever part I can in the revolution.
Great. Thanks for having me.
All right. Take care. Thanks for listening to the PE Data Guy, the place where private equity meets data. Please forward this episode to your favorite private equity friend. Thanks for listening. See you next time.